Okay, so I'm going to be disputing the affirmative side. First, I'm going to be talking about significance and inherency claims the affirmative side brought up. For the affirmative side, they mentioned CAFOs as a correlation to water contamination issues that a lot of areas around CAFOs experience. I don't think CAFOs should necessarily be the party to blame. I think it should be mostly on the states. I'm going to be doing some background information on how CAFOs are regulated by the government. The Clean Water Act, or CWA, is the basis of all regulation of CAFOs in the United States. The CWA prohibits the discharge of pollutions to the waters of the United States from any point source. The EPA explicitly states CAFOs as a point source. Discharge is only protected by the point source by having a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, or NPDES permits. I don't know why that's so difficult for me to say. These permits protect point sources, so therefore CAFOs, from federal and state litigation and to some extent civil litigation as well. All this information was provided by the EPA as well as CDC. NPDES permits are authorized by states, and each state has a different level of comprehensive standard for CAFOs to meet for these permits to be given. Arizona, Michigan, Ohio, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, South Dakota, Texas, and Utah have the most comprehensive standards for CAFOs to meet in order to have these permits, while states such as New Hampshire, New Mexico, Idaho, Massachusetts don't even have standards for CAFOs to meet and don't even require these permits for CAFOs to practice. I decided to compare the water quality reports of Arizona and New Mexico. Arizona is one of those states that has the most comprehensive standards, and New Mexico doesn't even have any standards. In 2014, Arizona's annual water quality reported that all sources of drinking water met all standards for water sources to be labeled safe drinking water. While in New Mexico, the EPA analyzed 6,399.5 miles of body of water, and they found that 65.6% of the body of water, or 4,198, were found to be impaired in some way. The main impairment was due to temperature differences and the presence of pathogens such as E. coli, pathogens that are found pathogens that are caused by sewage. In 2008, Illinois Citizens for Clean Air filed a complaint with the EPA, arguing that the state was not properly implementing its CAFOs permit program. The EPA did an investigation and released a report in 2010 siding with the Illinois Citizens for Clean Air, setting rules and guidelines for the state to meet. Based on this information, I think it's not necessarily CAFOs to blame, it's the states who aren't properly regulating these CAFOs. If all states had a proper regulated standard, then I feel like CAFOs wouldn't even have any issues with regards to water impairment, as we've seen in Arizona where all sources of drinking water were okay. With regards to the inherency issues that the affirmative side brought up, many of them were federal government issues. As I've stated before, federal government usually makes a standard for all states to follow. So I think this is not necessarily a federal issue, it's more of a state issue. It should be handled by state process. So next I'm going to be talking about repairs to the system. Some easy repairs that we could do is to improve the poor water quality that the affirmative side correlates with CAFOs. The repair system that the CDC recommends is that some CAFOs produce more waste than some U.S. cities. Give an example of some feeding operations to over 800,000 pigs can produce over 1.6 million tons of waste. This is more waste. This is more than 1.5 times more waste than produced by the city of Philadelphia. However, unlike human waste that's produced, human waste goes to sewage treatment plants, but CAFO's waste does not. And I believe that could be a really easy repair system, is having waste that's produced by CAFOs to go through these sewage treatments as well, to eliminate these contamination issues. Next, I'm going to be talking about the workability and disadvantage of the affirmative policy. The policy of the affirmative side was the United States government should strengthen and revise the policy to eliminate the use of concentrated feeding operations. When properly managed, CAFOs, when they're properly managed, located in monitors, CAFOs can create low-cost sources of meat, milk, and eggs, and due to the efficient feeding and housing of animals, increase facility size and animal specialization. CDC gives an example. In 1966, it took 1 million farms to house 57 million pigs. In 2001, because of CAFOs, it only takes 80,000 farms to house the same number of pigs. The elimination of CAFOs will most likely result in free-range farming, which I don't think is that viable of an option in first world nations. According to Digital Universe, free-range farming is expensive. Farmers face high costs and diminishing market prices, resulting in low profit margins for their goods. Farmers must pay for many inputs, such as investment capital goods, such as land, tractors, and buildings, transportation costs of goods and supplies, labor costs, waste disposal costs, expenditure on new technology in order to remain competitive. Farmers face, this is also according to Digital Universe, total cost of $173 billion, with individual farms facing an average cost of $81,000. CAFOs enable farmers to develop economies of scale by minimizing its average capital expenditure and maximizing its production. CAFOs enable farmers to develop economies of scale by raising and managing the amount of animals to drive down their cost per production. So to simplify it, they produce large amount of goods and they spread out their initial expenditure over a large quantity of goods, thus decreasing their average cost. Free-range farming is just too expensive and just not viable. Okay, I guess my time is up, but 6 minutes is not enough time. Okay, I guess I'm done. Well, can I continue or?